If you are actually undecided, you wouldn't feel irritated every time this comes up. Irritation is not confusion, it's the cost of pretending you haven't already chosen. Let's go deeper. Welcome back to Go Deeper, Please, where business and relationships tell the same story, and alignment only counts if something changes. I'm your host. You can call me Keita from Beneficial Bay, and I'll be guiding you through each level of depth as we ride this wave together. If you're new here, this is not a motivation show. It's definitely not about hype, and it's absolutely not about staying open forever. It's about decision and the discipline to honor it. Today's episode is called Decide Like You Mean It, because clarity that doesn't change behavior is just something that you like to think about. It's time to start at our first layer, on the surface. Now, on the surface, indecision looks responsible. It sounds like, I'm just being thoughtful. I don't want to rush. I'm still discerning and trying to figure it out. In dating, it looks like undefined dynamics, continuing access without commitment, waiting for clarity to arrive from them. And in business, it looks like tweaking instead of choosing, explaining instead of deciding, staying visible without building containers. From the outside, it looks mature, but it's not. It's comfort dressed up as caution. And now that we got that surface level mess out the way, let's go deeper. I've been here before, and since I dipped my toe in to test these waters, I can confidently stand up in it and say, it's just not that deep. Here's where most people misunderstand what's happening. You were taught that thinking longer leads to better decisions. It does not. Thinking longer usually just delays responsibility, because by the time you say, I need more clarity, your body already knows the answer. And that's why it feels so heavy. If something were truly unclear, you would feel neutral. Indecision does not feel neutral. It feels irritating. It feels draining. It feels like something you don't want to keep revisiting. That's not confusion. That's avoidance. In dating, you already know when something isn't moving. You feel it when nothing is defined unless you ask, when plans don't extend forward, when access continues without structure, and instead of deciding, you keep interpreting. In business, you already know when something isn't aligned. You feel it when you're over-explaining, when follow-ups feel like pressure, when interest doesn't turn into movement, and instead of choosing, you keep refining. That's not depth. That's delay. So let's dive in. First, I want to honor you for a moment. Listen to me, because I want you to hear this with compassion and not shame. If you've been thinking, maybe I just need more clarity, you weren't being stupid. You were being safe. Because a lot of you guys were trained, whether it was in life, in church, in relationships, in business, that the good person is the one who doesn't push. The good person doesn't ask for too much, doesn't move too fast, doesn't make people feel uncomfortable, doesn't force outcomes. So you learn to wait. You learn to stay agreeable, flexible, understanding. And if we're being honest, waiting became a form of self-regulation, because waiting feels like control. Wait unless you feel like you're being mature without having to face the risk of being rejected. Because once you decide that you are making that decision and standing on it, you can be declined. Once you decide, you can lose. And once you decide, you could be wrong. So instead, you hover. Not because you don't know, because hovering protects you from the moment where your life has to match your truth. And I need you to hear this next part gently, but clearly. A lot of you aren't confused. You're just afraid of being the one who names it. In dating, you don't want to be too much. You don't want to be that one who ruins the vibe. You don't want to ask, so what are we? Because you're scared the answer will expose what you already feel. So you keep it light, you keep it cute, you keep it open, and you call that patience. In business, it's the same exact thing. You don't want to be salesy. You don't want to be pushy. You don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. So you keep explaining. You keep adding value. You keep nurturing. And then you call it strategy. But what you're really doing is avoiding the moment where somebody has to choose. Because choice creates consequences. Choice ends fantasy. Choice forces structure. So no, you weren't wrong to think you needed more clarity. You were doing what you were taught to do. Delay the decision until it feels safe. But here's the problem. Safety is not the same thing as alignment. And waiting is only wise when movement is happening on both sides. If nothing is moving, waiting is not patience. It's participation. It's you staying available inside of a dynamic that only works if nothing is named. And that's why you feel irritated. That irritation isn't you being dramatic. It's your body telling you, I'm tired of living in something that requires me to pretend. So the question isn't, do I have enough clarity yet? The question is, do I trust myself enough to honor what I already know? Because once you answer that, we don't need more insight. We need a framework for action. Quiet, clean, and honest. And that's where we're going next. So come deeper with me, because it's time to get fully immersed. Let's slow this down, because the decision doesn't fail at the moment you choose. It fails at the translation. People know what they know, but they don't know how to live in it yet. So I want to walk you through this differently. Not as steps you rush through, but as a sequence your body already recognizes. Beneficial Bayland, we're going to call this the decide to boundary framework. So step 1, let's name what has already settled. This is quieter than you expect. I'm not asking, what do you think you should do? I'm asking, what already feels done internally, even though your life hasn't caught up yet. So this shows up as a loss of curiosity, a lack of emotional charge, a subtle, I'm tired of talking about this. That's not burnout. That's a decision that already happened without permission from your mouth. If you keep revisiting something that no longer feels open, you're not undecided. You're delaying alignment. Step 2, identify where you're still available against yourself. Now we get honest. Ask yourself, Where am I still showing up in ways that would only make sense if I hadn't decided? This looks like continuing conversations that you already know won't change, responding quickly to dynamics that feel draining, leaving doors open just in case. Availability is not neutral, it's a signal. And right now, availability may be contradicting your clarity. That contradiction is where discomfort lives. Step 3, separate the decision from the boundary. And this is where most people mess it up. A decision is internal, a boundary is behavioral. And you don't need to announce the decision. You don't need agreement. You need alignment between what you know and what you allow. Here's how that sounds cleanly. When you are dating somebody, you can say, I don't stay in undefined relationships. Interest without movement doesn't work for me. If clarity feels like pressure, this isn't aligned. In business, we could say, I don't work with people who need convincing. Interest without action doesn't move forward here. Access follows alignment. These aren't ultimatums, they're filters. Step 4, withdraw your energy without the drama. And this is the real work. Not the conversation, not the explanation, just the withdrawal. Stop initiating where the effort isn't matched, explaining where readiness isn't present, softening clarity to manage somebody else's discomfort. You don't disappear, you don't punish. You simply stop compensating. This is where alignment becomes visible. Step 5, prepare yourself for the quiet that follows. And this is the step that not enough people are telling you about. When you withdraw your energy, there's often a pause. Not chaos, not relief, a pause. And your nervous system is going to want to feel it, want to fix it, want to explain it. Don't. That quiet is doing the sorting for you. Some things are going to move forward cleanly. Others are going to fall away without argument. That's not a loss. That's confirmation. Step 6, let your body confirm the decision. And this is how you know you did it right. If you feel steadier, less irritated, less mentally occupied, not euphoric, not dramatic, just clear. If you feel calmer, the decision was aligned. And if you feel frantic, you tried to skip a step. Your body always tells the truth after a boundary is honored. Now here's the shift. You don't decide to create boundaries. You decide, and the boundaries automatically appear to protect that decision. If you're exhausted by a question, you're not confused. You're overdue. Time for the point of no return. Because we didn't came this far, there's no way you can go back to being how you were before. Once this lands, you can't undo it. If you have to keep revisiting the same question, you already know the answer. Indecision is not neutral. It's a refusal to honor what you know because honoring it will require a boundary. And boundaries don't create distance. They reveal alignment. This is that point in our journey where support becomes appropriate. Not because you're broken, not because you're behind, but because decisions hold better inside of structure. If you're listening and thinking, I know what I need to choose, I just need help staying aligned with it. This is where alignment pre-screen comes in. That is our private clarity gate. There's no hype, no noise, you by yourself trying to figure out if you're ready. And it's just a way to see where you're regulated, where you're fragmented, and whether you're actually ready to move. That leads into my little black book, which is not a newsletter, not a funnel. It's just a private signal list for people who are serious about alignment. No pressure, definitely no urgency. But if this episode is hitting, that's the next clean step. You can find it linked wherever you're listening. Decision doesn't scream, it settles. And once you decide like you mean it, your boundaries stop feeling harsh and start feeling honest. Before you go, sit with this. What are you still available for that no longer fits who you've decided to be? No explanations, just name it. Next episode, we're talking boundaries. Not that loud kind, not that performative kind, the kind that actually changes outcomes. I'll see you there. Bye.